1970s, Jim Davis created a comic about a fat, lasagna-loving orange cat who, along with his owner John Arbuckle and a crazy dog named Odie, lived in Muncie, Indiana, and it shared the endeavors of this lazy fat cat in his household. Though the owner regularly sought after it, Garfield is not known for sympathy. And I want to show you a few examples of that today. John says, "I've made a few mistakes in my life." And Garfield laughs. "Like looking to you for sympathy, for instance." And Garfield with a cheesy grin. The next one says, "The Titanic sank with over 1,000 people on board." Garfield thought to himself, "Humans, I bet they all deserved it." Then he says, "But how many innocent dogs were sent barking to their watery doom?" And then the third one here, "I hate Mondays." "Me too." "Why are you looking depressed? You don't work." Sympathy pains. It's quite clear through multiple comics, and more than just these, that Garfield was not the person you turn to for comfort, unless it benefits himself, of course. Yet, John continually sought after it from his cat, which if you've ever owned a cat, you know that they really aren't the ones necessarily to give you comfort. In our text for today, we are continuing our walk quite briskly through the story of Job. And Job has suffered extensively. And on top of all of his losses, Job has just been lectured by his friend Eliphaz, who has said, "You're the reason this stuff's happening." And so today we are going to look at Job's response to Eliphaz's accusation about Job being sinful. I encourage you to turn with me to Job chapter 23. We're going to look at verses 1 through 9 and then hop down to verses 16 through 17. We'll read this all as one chunk and then unpack it together. Then Job answered, "Today also my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his dwelling. I would lay my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn what he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in the greatness of his power? No, but he would give heed to me. There, an upright person could reason with him, and I should be acquitted forever by my judge. If I go forward, he is not there, or backward, I cannot perceive him. On the left he hides, and I cannot behold him. I turn to the right, but I cannot see him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. If only I could vanish in the darkness, and thick darkness would cover my face." Cheerful stuff, right? Last week, we talked about the beginning of Job and discussed the idea of biblical genres. That the Bible is a library of books of lots of different genres for different ways for God to expose himself and his story to his people. Job is a wisdom literature, not to be read as a historical document, but something for us to learn from, a place to discuss hard topics. And specifically, Job focuses on the idea of suffering and God's relationship to our suffering. Today, in case you didn't notice, we hopped forward 21 chapters in the book of Job. So when I said we're walking briskly through Job, I meant it. So we missed a few conversations with Job and his friends where Job says, "I have not sinned," and they're like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, no, really, I haven't sinned. And they go back and forth in this conversation where Job continues to try to tell them, no, I have nothing to repent of. And they're like, yeah, but you're suffering, so you must have something to repent of. They blame him for the loss of his kids, his property, and his health. But Job holds tight to his integrity and rejects the accusations. He even at one point in this passage says, if I knew where God was, I'd stand before him and tell him to judge me. If I could find him, I would ask him to judge me, and he would call me righteous. Which, in other passages earlier in Job, God has used the words that Job is righteous. So, obviously Job is not being punished for something he's done, yet he's suffering. The hard thing in this passage to see is that there is no explanation for suffering. Job is experiencing pain, and his friends want to insist otherwise. They want to solve the problem. They want to fix it for him. And so Job instead says, I would rather sit in thick darkness than hang out with my friends who just don't know how to be present with me in my pain. When people are suffering, it's natural for us to assume that they need sympathy. If you go to the grocery store, there's a whole section of sympathy cards for you to purchase. But I want to show you a video by a woman named Dr. Brene Brown, where she suggests not sympathy, but empathy is what we need. Take a look at this video.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection, sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, huh? No, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. I had it, yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. At least you know you didn't get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Empathy is feeling with someone. Rarely does a response or fixing it attempt actually solve the problem. What solves the problem is connection. suggesting that not sympathy but empathy is the thing that is needed in deep places of pain. And with her definition, we see that maybe Garfield was actually really good at sympathy, because he's good at like going, oh, that sucks. Huh. You know, that looks like it's not fun. Bummer. But not good at empathy, not good at acknowledging the pain that is in a person and feeling with them. Job's friends, too, are sympathetic. In the beginning of the story of Job, his friends sit with him and are just present with him in his pain. But in the midst of observing his pain, they begin to have a faith crisis. The way they've understood who God is begins to have tension in it, and they struggle. And they ask hard questions, which leads to them trying to fix the problem. They'd rather try to fix the problem and justify God than simply be in the awkward tension of pain. But in those moments, questions arise. When we see pain and we don't understand, we ask ourselves, is God good if good people suffer? Where is God in our suffering? And does he even care? What is the point of prayer if God isn't just going to wave a magic wand and fix it for me? We feel these tough questions when we see pain and suffering happen, and it's uncomfortable, and our natural tendency is to hop towards the fixing it part, or the silver lining part. We want to get to the place where the tension is gone, make this ick go away. But Brene Brown is suggesting that that's not the solution to pain or suffering. That usually perpetuates the problem and isolates the person more. If we aren't willing to sit in the tension of tough questions, we move towards a place of trying to justify God, which is a quite humorous thing to think about if you pause for a second. Like the almighty, ever-present, all-powerful, all-knowing God needs us to justify him. Oh yeah, that's why God did this. God is good, therefore everything must happen for a reason. Therefore, your suffering must be because of X, Y, or Z. And you need to repent. But Job is saying here that formula doesn't work. Job has been righteous. God used the phrase that Job has been righteous. And so this book is telling us bad things happen to good people. And that doesn't mean that God's not good or that they are bad. But that suffering is present in this world. That ick, that tension is here. And we can't just hop to the good stuff to get there. That doesn't make it go away. When we struggle with these questions and don't just have a willingness to be present in the tension, as we're trying to justify God, we also try to just hop to the happy ending and say, yeah, there's bad stuff here, but there's hope in the future. Which is true. Because we believe in Jesus Christ, because we have faith in our Savior, there is hope that someday suffering will end. Christ is going to return, and the evil that is present in this world will be wiped away, and the world will be restored to the way God intended it to be. We have that hope. But that hope doesn't take away the pain we are experiencing now. The loneliness, the suffering that we experience now. We have light at the end of the tunnel, we just don't know how long this tunnel is. And that doesn't necessarily make suffering or pain go away. Trying to rush to the good stuff prevents us from also experiencing the opportunities of empathy that God provides us in life. We miss opportunities to be God's love in this world and for his name to be glorified. We miss the chance to ask tough questions and to challenge the way we think about God. not something to be ashamed over. Pain and suffering does not mean you are a bad person. Job is saying here that bad things happen in this world, and it doesn't always have to be explained away. And that's uncomfortable. Because we love to have reasons and rationality for what's going on in this world. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel like we can protect ourselves from pain. But if you're a living, breathing human being, you've experienced some form of pain. Whether it be the loss of a loved one, health problems, loss of income, no one can escape from pain. Good things can happen to bad people, and bad things can happen to good people. Ugh. But rather than avoiding tension and avoiding pain, it's an opportunity for us to sit there and to wrestle with what it means for us. And what opportunities we have to love people who are in that place. Suffering is an indicator that the world is broken and that we are waiting for the day that our Savior can restore it to its intended form. But suffering is not a mathematical equation of evil plus action equals consequence. Many circumstances, the person who does something evil doesn't get the consequence of that action. It's not rational. But someday it will end. So I encourage us to think, rather than saying everything happens for a reason and trying to silver lining it, pretending on a verb, or to justify God, who is the creator. Let's pause that sentence. Let's shorten it. Everything happens. Period. Evil is present in this world, and that sucks. God doesn't need us to justify him. He is good, even when there is presence of evil in this world and suffering. Pain doesn't have to make sense. What does make sense is that we, as God's hands and feet in this world, are called to love people in pain. Love them in the moment. To live out that empathy of feeling alongside them. Being present with them, not trying to fix it for them, but to simply show them they aren't alone. We are called to compassion and to be present with people in their pain. Let's pray together. God, pain is uncomfortable. I would really like to avoid it. I'd like to skip the suffering and just get to the happy ending. Lord, I pray that you expose my heart and my mind to the present, to not simply be looking forward, but to be present with the people that you place in front of me. That I can enter into the moment with them and feel with them and encourage them. Lord, help me to find peace in not solving the problem. Help me to just embrace the tension rather than wanting to fix it. And let us as a church be a church of empathy. A church that is supportive and encouraging in new and deep ways. Lord, we love you and we are grateful that you are the one in control, even when the world feels like chaos. We love that we do have hope in you, that things will end, that pain will end. But until that point, help us to be present in the moment with the people we are with and love deeply. In your name I pray. Amen. Let's stand together. like Garfield, ignoring the pain of others. Maybe not be people like Job's friends, explaining away the pain of others, but maybe be empathic people, embracing the pain and loving people through their suffering.